a very warm welcome to Lena Sellgren. She's the Chief Economist of Business Sweden. She's also the Head of Analysis of Business Sweden and has a forward view of what the economy really looks like. So you're going to get a few questions on that front.
Great. Thank you.
We have Viral Thakkar. Viral Thakkar is the Chief Business Officer and a co-founder of Credible ESG. It's an AI-powered sustainability platform helping companies go ahead and make sense of their data and also go ahead and become much more sustainable in terms of impact. Before Credible, he was with Deloitte and was the head of climate and sustainability, was a leader there. We have Andreas Håkansson from PwC, partner, head of AI, and also is running a very interesting AI exploration lab. So we'll sort of get to that pretty soon. I have Katarina Björk. She's the Chief Impact Officer of Exponential Roadmap Initiative. Extremely interesting group that is looking at going ahead and scaling up climate action, focusing on the IPCC AR6 report in terms of the 1.5 degrees, and then trying to do it in an exponential way, which is fascinating in its own right. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about exponential change. I have a very good friend and a colleague and a co-conspirator, Professor Reine Isaksson, Associate Professor Reine Isaksson, and docent. Someone who has one foot in the academia and has extensively kept the other foot in the practitioner space. So he works extensively with sustainable construction materials and in the field of cement and trying to reduce the carbon footprint. So warm welcome to you, Reine. Let me start off with Lena, right? We had another chief economist come and talk about his view and said that economists in general have a way of going ahead and placing them in the middle, neither too far, not too back, right? So if I have to ask you, saying that if economy is like a ship,
Okay.
right? And your Business Sweden, right? And you're at the top of the ship, and then you suddenly see this massive emergence of AI, right? It's taking different forms and shapes. Are you filled with anxiety, or do you see
Yes,
that,
of
"Hey,
course.
Yeah,
Of
okay,
course.
please,
What should I
please.
say?
Please. So how does
Yes.
how does AI impact trade, considering that Business Sweden is looking at trade and it is critical for Business Sweden's own growth and success?
It is. And you hear me good?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. How is AI affecting trade? That's a bit too early to really confirm, I should say. But just looking at AI, and I just listened a little bit to the previous panel, but of course, that's the future. Looking into different surveys, you see that companies, when you ask about challenges and opportunities, challenges, the geopolitical tensions that we have, different kind of, but then looking a couple of decades ahead as well. It's AI and enabling technologies. So that's where we are heading. And if we do this in a good way and take use of the enabling technologies like AI, it will for sure have positive effects. And I truly believe on trade as well. And then you can put sustainability into this and use it in a smart way, I believe. But there are obstacles, and I can come back with how it affects the GDP growth and productivity later on.
So I'll come back to you on that front.
So it has an impact, of course,
Yeah.
and mainly positive.
Mainly positive. So
In the
okay,
longer run.
I'm going to hold you on to that and then ask you about the positive side of AI.
Yeah.
Viral, for you, so you've been in the field of sustainability for quite some time. You've been leading sustainability and climate action for various companies and at Deloitte. And one of the key things that you've always focused on is data and trust on data, right? Now with AI in the mix, and you are at the forefront of a startup which is looking at AI for sustainability data, how do you see climate action, climate impact scaling up? Do you see it scaling up? Do you see corporate action becoming much more direct and clear?
Yeah. Swami, great question. So a couple of ways to look at this. One is AI for ourselves, being a startup, the ability to leverage AI and to deliver features and functionality at a pace that is substantially faster, and it's getting faster by the day, is tremendous, right? So just getting that ringside view into being, leveraging AI and demonstrating productivity of an organization that would have been 10 times larger.
Right.
So that's one. And at some level, we are a software company, so it's easier, and a startup, so we're building net new. To your second point, which is how does AI impact climate? And obviously different ways to look at it, but we believe that based on what we do with clients, the ability of AI to democratize knowledge in some ways, and I think we heard the previous panel talk about it through initiatives such as Lead IT and others. The ability to share knowledge and to make it more widespread and to share it at a level of detail that is a lot more comprehensive, I believe is a tremendous advantage. So I'm a glass half full person, but I think AI has a substantial benefit coming our way.
Okay, thanks, Viral. I'll get to you again on that front. Andreas, you are the partner of AI, and then you have this lab within PwC. And I do know that the consulting model is undergoing a change, right? So
that's putting it mildly.
So where do you see AI? Do you see AI as a competitor? Do you see AI as an enabler, as a co-conspirator? How do you see AI going forward?
Definitely an enabler. I'm also a glass half full, right? So, but I think it's transforming how we actually create value and how we actually do work. And I think one thing is getting the technology, and the speed of what the technology can do is going so fast. If I just look at my own team, what we did 3 months ago and what we're doing today is completely different. So we're changing how we do work as we run. And that's a big transformation because, of course, we coming from PwC, we have a lot of legacy systems, we have a lot of procedures, processes. We also need to update our operating model as we run, and I think that's the biggest challenge we have because the way we price things, the way the customer sees value, how it affects our competencies we need, how we do risk assessment, how we charge for things. I mean, there are so many parameters into this that needs to be updated at the same time. And I think that's the biggest challenge we sit with. So we're definitely in a huge transformation, I would say.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm going to pick you up on the transformation part a little more, saying that what exactly is the transformation and how are you preparing for it. But before you come back to you, Andreas, Katrina, I have had the good fortune of having a look at all the different blue books that you've been releasing. Short, nice blue books for supply chain partners, for different kinds of partners, all oriented towards IPCC AR6 1.5 degrees. How do you see AI now contributing to some of the climate goals? Because typically, whenever I've spoken to companies or to boards, they're great with their own sustainability goals, but they don't really know what it is doing for reducing the total impact on the planet. That red thread wasn't there before. Do you think AI is going to contribute that? Is it going to build it for people to see that red thread?
I think, it's of course useful to think of AI in various perspectives and looking at all the companies that have their target and deliver progress. Deploying AI into the systems that would help decarbonize or create less resource use or handle waste would of course help us reach our ambitions and not pass the thresholds for too long, so come back from an overshoot earlier. But that means also that we need to look at, AI is only as good as in the systems where we deploy it, so embedded into systems that are created to do exactly that, to be within planetary boundaries, to be Also, we have created a framework called the Earth Alignment Principle with regards to AI, and it's both planetary boundaries, but it's also for social justness. So it's about who is owning the models, which countries, which few companies. Could there be a more democratized model of that, but also coming to access. I actually this spring went through an AI fluency course for women, as it shows that less women are engaged and produce and build things in AI. So it's also about equality and social equality and inclusiveness, not only for lucky Swedes with a lot of privilege. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No,
but
that's absolutely fine, because
Yeah.
I think you're bringing in dimensions to the AI debate in terms of looking at AI not just as a data systems or a data solution, but you're bringing in dimensions that are social, that are gender. So it's nice to complicate that discussion. So it's great.
I think it's only as good as the systems we deploy it in.
Yeah.
So it's a choice, and that we need to work with that a lot.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I agree. So, Raine, we've spoken a lot, and I do know that cement and construction contribute a lot of CO2 emissions. A large proportion of the CO2 emissions that are coming from sector or on the basis of sector is coming from cement and construction. And one of the key points that you've made is about the fact that cement industry in itself doesn't have an incentive to go ahead and actually reduce the emissions as far as per kilogram production of cement is concerned, simply because of the fact that sometimes the data is not available or it's not comparable, etc. Now, with AI being available, comparability seems like a more doable thing. What are your points of view in terms of cement construction and sustainability?
Thanks for the question. Well, AI doesn't solve the problem, because the problem is, as we have discussed, that you need to define what is sustainable cement, what's sustainable concrete, and what's sustainable building. That is not defined. We know that by research. And we speak about decarbonization. That's not a sustainability definition, because if that's the goal, we just stop producing cement. But then we lose the value. So the entire measurement system is flawed. It needs to be the eco-efficiency value per harm perspective. That is still not there. And so, Erik, what is sustainable cement? Because if the company doesn't know that, and I know for sure that they don't, because we work with 2 companies now trying to look at how AI could be used. And the first thing is that what is a good performance, what sustainability is not measured. And then the second thing is that the amount of data is so big, so much internal understanding that the AI can't actually solve it without you cleaning the data. So the process engineer says 90% is the cleaning to get the database to that stage that AI can be applied on it. And so in big companies, like these are big cement companies, and there's a problem with the oligopoly. So the drive for doing something differently is not really there. And if I'm allowed one more comment, the problem with the cement industry obviously is that the business model, which is not explicit, but which is the real one, is to maximize the tons produced by a commodity. Now, in that context, then really you only want to do that. And as it happens, Sweden is probably the country in the world that uses the most cement in concrete. So we calculate in how many kilograms per cubic meter concrete. We're about 30% above what would be reasonable. And so then the solution is not the carbon capture and storage only, but it's actually looking at what cement is doing. But then you need to have this definition. How do we define it? And it should be somehow the value created as user value compared to the carbon footprint and to the price. And that's the kind of indicators we have worked with, but they're not being used in the industry.
Thanks, Raine. I do know that you've always had a contrarian point of view to this. So thanks for putting it out. So it's fantastic. That's the reason why I've got you in this particular panel. We'll get to that, Raine. So Lena, I'll sort of come back to AI as a positive impact, right? Which is the point that you left off with. I want to sort of contextualize it in the way that AI itself is being built as a sovereign stack. And then AI is both an enabler and facilitator of trade because you can have comparable data, but it's also a strategic advantage and a competitive edge. How does Business Sweden see this as, from wherever you stand, is it an edge, is it an enabler, does it help countries collaborate better?
I believe it's mostly an enabler, but just looking into where we are right now when it comes to AI, there is a lot of investments in AI and everything that is connected into this. You have the data centers and the energy, everything. So it's a lot of investments, and that's actually what we, in the short run perspective, see in the growth forecasts. This is not necessarily the same as increased productivity.
Right.
We hope there will be a productivity gain from this, but that's really not known yet. So the projection is that we will see this productivity gains picking up, but we cannot confirm it. Maybe in the ICT sector, but then there is really, if you are interested in this, I recommend you to deep dive into a short paper just published last week, if I remember correct, from the National Institute of Economic Research on what does it mean productivity from a Swedish perspective. And they concluded that in the ICT sector, yes, and some others connected to the AI intensive sectors. But even though we see this, it's still that these sectors were already on a very steep curve. Right. So they cannot confirm that it's actually driven by the AI. So that's my point a little bit, that it's too early to confirm if there will be productivity gains. But if it will be, and we take use of this in a smart way, then it will be really good for the global economy, and then we can decide what to do with the extra growth that we get out from this. Invest more, higher wages, or shorter working time, whatever we want as a society.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say, Lena, is that there's a lot of investment, capital investment into AI
yes, it's very capital intensive.
Yes, but the whole correlation to productivity is not yet established.
No.
Yes.
Not yet.
But there is some growth, and in many ways, what you're saying, is it jobless growth or?
That's a really good question. I hope not, and I believe that it will more change the way. I think you said it in a good way. It's changing the way how we work. So some tasks will, of course, disappear. Has already disappeared. So it's just that you need more of lifelong learning and upskilling, reskilling, whatever you call it. So I think in Sweden, at least, we have done this historically in a very good way. That we actually do not protect jobs, we protect individuals, which is really good. Right. So if we can handle this in a good situation, I'm not so worried. But there will be changes, and we need to adapt and be more flexible.
Sure.
And maybe also, but this is really my personal view, we need to be responsible to a bigger extent of our own capacity and what we can how we change and adapt to a new situation. I truly believe that we need to teach this from school and up, that you need to be more, I don't know if it's moving faster, but still it's changing in a way that we have not seen before.
Indeed. Very complex and tough questions, wicked questions. So we don't have any ready answers, but thank you. But Viral, I'm coming back to you again, right? And I'm picking up on Reine's point about data not being clean enough, not being comparable enough. There's a lot of effort that is required to clean up the data, upload the data, and that's precisely the problem that you're solving in many ways, right? So can you throw a little bit more on can you sort of in many ways align to Reine and see how his problem can be solved?
Great question, Swami. So obviously, I think what Reine is raising is a fundamental question, what truly is sustainable and what's not. I think that's too large for us to solve at our startup, even with AI. I think that's best left to humans. What we can at least try and make sense of is disparate data. As you might expect, a lot of the data that you have when you're looking to compute your carbon footprint or report on your greenhouse gas emissions is that the data is unstructured. It lives in different formats, papers, bills, fuel consumption logs, etc. And based on our work with clients, we found that 80% of clients that have moved from a spreadsheet-based computation to a platform, we found errors, right? And errors, these are obviously things that creep in, but sometimes they have to do with emission factors because a unit of energy, it does not equate to the same carbon footprint all over the world, right? Every country, in fact, every region, based on what your energy source is different, right? So it's a different emissions factor. And it's important to have that baseline for you to then take some action. And this is where AI helps because you are able to then scour through literally terabytes of data to say, this is the emission factor that's right for me. And I'm going to use this. So the ability of the organization to demonstrate data lineage, etc., is much greater. So that's really what we are, one of the ways we are using AI to solve the data problem.
So you see this as a largely positive curve. So some of the questions that typically everyone has, I don't have clean data, my data resides in 10 different places, in different forms. You see that as a solvable issue going forward and not something that is intractable and cannot be solved and you still have you're seeing that as a future, right?
I absolutely see that as a future.
Okay, great. Andreas, I'm going to come to you. I'm already 2 minutes, right? I'm going to come to you. So you mentioned something about a business model change, right? And not just from a consulting side. Consulting companies typically work on strategy, on corporate strategy. And I see AI is coming in. So of course you might have an AI hat, but it is about corporate strategy and business models, right? What is that one fundamental business model change that you think is needed for industries and sectors across the board? I do know that we've been talking about clean energy and green transition, but do you see something from a strategic perspective?
And I think there are twofold, right? So I think, first of all, what we're seeing when we do our global research is that industries are converging. The technology is bringing about new value pools, solving more important topics like how we feed, for example. AI is now looking into how can we make food more nutritious, how can we increase the crops, etc., and how can we sort of bring that together. I just heard on a panel this morning, we had this guy at the Kungliga Tekniska Högskolan. He's sitting on the evenings trying to find molecules to increase the nutrition fact in certain parts, just using AI. I mean, the creativity and the innovation speed that this enables, that completely opens up new areas of growth. Coming back to, I think we can focus on productivity, and our studies actually show that those companies that are focusing on doing things they're already doing today a little bit better are actually falling behind. The ones that are leading are the ones tapping into new value pools, using the technology for growth, not for efficiency. Of course, there are efficiencies as well, but I think the key is to focus on growth and tapping into those new value pools that opens up.
Fantastic. So you are seeing a business model change, and you do see that AI can be a instant strategic decision lever, so to speak.
Absolutely. And what we see that those that actually focus on growth, focus on reinventing their business model to tap into those value growth, they're using AI much more than others. They're not taking away jobs, they're growing jobs. And I think that's also important to sort of recognize, because we hear this that AI will steal our jobs, we're not going to have jobs. It's not. It's going to empower us to do more.
I'll come to you, Lena. Katrina, so you mentioned about the planetary boundaries, and we do see almost every year one more planetary boundary is breached, and last I heard, I think 7 planetary boundaries are breached, or
Yeah.
So if I have to go ahead and say that you look at the big picture, and exponential change is about the big picture, and if you're approaching all of this not from this, but from the level that planetary boundaries are getting breached. Do you see AI going ahead and giving us a coherent view, saying that these are the pathways, this is how we are breaching it? And it gives an actionable insight to companies.
Yes. I mean, also, yes, I see lots of opportunities, and also to talk about what you mentioned, to find those new value propositions, leapfrog the incremental path that we see, and see an exponential growth in solutions. So what we are looking at is which kind of solutions should be the ones building the next economy, and how can we scale them quick enough with AI helping us identifying the tipping points needed to scale those solutions. That means being intelligent in which kind of infrastructure and architectures do we need to make that happen quickly and speed up that, and also then to come back within planetary boundaries and but also to create that modern welfare society. So I think it's also going back to the guides and stuff. I mean, I think there is both digitalization and AI enablement of things that we already do, but also applying AI to foresight, to identifying those spots where there are, or the pattern where there are growth within planetary boundaries.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm already on top of the hour, but I'll just give one final word to Raine and then to Lena. Raine, in terms of solutions, good solutions, how does that scale up? Quick one.
AI bots to have as a personal help, because the skills needs to go then to action, and that's how to put them into people. And then a quick shot at Lead It, where I'm the cement expert, and we're looking at CCS and the LC3, the clay things, but that's a first world solution. In the global south, affordability is number one, and unfortunately the LC3 doesn't make the cement cheaper, so it's a problem. So we need to at first, and that's not AI, us thinking what's the right thing to do, and you were into it. I mean, you want to have the perfect process which does the right thing in the right way over time, and the over time changes really quickly with the AI.
Sure. So I think there's a lot to talk to Per and Eric over coffee, so I'm quite sure that's it. Lena, your final word. I know that you put up your hand, so...
Yes, a quick one. Just I think that you need to educate and learn the whole society, like a little bit like in Sweden, the PC reform. They are doing great, as I can see it in Singapore, for example. So you really include the whole society into this. I think that's key.
Indeed. So thank you so much.
Thank you.